all the time about my sweet baby boy Silas, who I put all of my autism into in my book branches, but I want to talk about the rest of his vampiric family, aka the Annora. Mostly because they deserve some more love and spotlight, and mostly because in the sequel you're gonna get to learn a lot more about their backstory. I give you hints, but you about to get dumb. It sounded weird. Anyway, to help with this, I have made a handy dandy chart. I am a visual learner. Let's begin with the mother and father of this family, aka Arya and Matthias. So Arya is Romani, and her and Matthias met in the 1300s when Matthias was a traveling doctor. He'd essentially go around learning all different types of cultures, practices for doing medicine, and, combine what he saw work. Anyway, he came across Arya's caravan one day, tipped over, and they needed some help, and Matthias helped, and then they ended up getting married. And when the plague hit, Matthias was, of course, traveling around trying to do his doctoral duties, and ended up actually getting him and Arya turned by a vampire they thought was dying of the plague, but he wasn't actually dying of the plague. Anyway, the plague is the reason that they drink animal blood, because drinking from humans, they would get sick, but if they drank from animals, the plague would not pass on to them. Next is the oldest of the siblings. Everett is technically the oldest, but him and Jonathan are married. He's an in-law. Anyway, he's an in-law that they all see as brother. You get what. So the next child is Jonathan, who was turned by Arya in 1863. Mind you, when Arya and Matthias originally found Jonathan and Everett, Jonathan was still a human, because Everett really did not know how to turn, and he was too scared to do it. He didn't want to accidentally end up killing John. Everett himself was made in 1848 by the main villain of the first novel, and he was 19 years old when this happened. Jonathan was turned in his 20s. Jonathan was a runaway slave. I don't think I mentioned that. They're gonna get their own whole short story in the background book I'm writing for all of these. Next was Eden, who was turned in 1945. I should mention Matthias has a habit of enlisting into every single major conflict as a medic, mostly because his blood has supernatural healing capabilities, and also he's kind of like that Batman mentality of, well, I could do something, so I might as well do something. And Jonathan will normally enlist with him to make sure he's not doing any crazy whack-ass white man. Anyway, during World War II, Matthias, of course, enlisted, and while freeing a concentration camp, they ended up finding Eden. But they then turned, and at the time, she was 25 years old. Eden's backstory makes me cry, and it's probably gonna make all of you cry, too. Next, we have Hannah. So Matthias found Hannah during Vietnam. Essentially, the helicopter was rolling out and someone threw a baby on board, and Matthias was like, well, this is my daughter now. Hannah knew no other parental figures other than Arya and Matthias, since she was very small when they got her. Because of her, the whole family now knows Vietnamese. Anyway, she got in the 70s, and she was turned in 1994 at 27 years old, and Arya is her maid. Finally, we have the baby. So Silas was adopted by the Annoras when he was around 8 years old, when his grandparents were killed by a vampire. It's a whole sad backstory. Anyway, Eden is actually the one that turned Silas in 2005 when he was 17. There was shenanigans. None of these babies have a really nice backstory. I'm just thinking. Anyway, Silas is with my main character, Lavender, and they will have some childrens later in the series, because I said that is in the Annora family, and if you want to read more about them, you can get a signed copy of my book right now for 20% off in my shop. It's in my box.